Hi, I'm this nerd. I will be describing the Pop Century Resort and the pros and cons of why staying at this resort might be right for you and your family, or why it might not be. In this series, Should I Stay? I will be making a video for each resort. Now I'm going to be describing the Pop Century Resort. This resort is in the value resort category for Disney, just like the All-Star resorts are, which means this resort is cheap. But this resort is just above the price of the All-Star resorts, but not by much. This resort is located across from the Art of Animation Resort, just on the other side of Hourglass Lake, and is only 1.7 miles, about a 5-minute drive if you don't take the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios. If you take the Skyliner to Hollywood Studios, you first get dropped off at Caribbean Beach. And then from there, you take the Skyliner that goes to Hollywood Studios. It isn't a straight through from Pop Century to Hollywood Studios. Also, the Pop Century Skyliner station is shared with the Art of Animation Resort on Hourglass Lake. For food options, just like the All-Star resorts, this resort has a food court. Everything pop. They also have 3 pools at this resort. Every area is themed to a different decade, starting with the 50s, then goes to the 60s, 70s, 80s, and then lastly to the 90s, and has a huge movie statue from a movie in each decade. For example, the 50s has statues of Lady and the Tramp. And lastly, this resort is big, but not as large as some of the All-Star resorts. I will start with the pros. As I mentioned in the description, this resort is a relatively low price in regards to how much for a night for a Disney resort. Again, as I mentioned in the description, this resort is 1.7 miles from Hollywood Studios if you decide to drive or take the bus. The Skyliner is a great way to get from resort to resort, or even resort to Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Since Disney does not have a bus that goes from resort to resort, the Skyliner is the way to do it if you are looking to go to the Caribbean Beach Resort or the new Riviera Resort. Compared to some of the All-Star resorts, this resort is smaller, but not by much, so it is still a massively big resort. The decade themes really help you find your room easier without having the panic attack where you are like, where did they say our room was? The resort had a renovation of the rooms in 2017-2018, so these rooms will be newly renovated even if you go in 2022 and are seeing this video in the future. As I said in the description, there are 3 pools which help with people who want to relax by the pool and not have so many people at the pool. Now I'm going to get into the cons of the Pop Century Resort. So most of these cons can be for any value resort, not just the Pop Century Resort. This doesn't mean the Pop Century Resort is my favorite of the value resorts, but it isn't, I'm not going to say as bad because the All-Star resorts are good for some people, but it's a little bit above for me at least, it's a little bit above the All-Star resorts, but underneath the Art of Animation Resort. For the first con, This resort is big, so you might have to walk more than you may like after a whole day at the parks. Just like I said in the All-Star Resorts video. This resort tends to be a bit noisy in regards to hearing people who are staying next to you while it's flushing the toilet or it's shutting a door. So if you're sleeping and someone comes in and has to go to the bathroom into their room or just gets into their room, you're gonna hear door slam unless they're really quiet. Now, the food courts aren't for everyone, especially if you don't have kids or have kids who are much older and aren't so picky. And kid-friendly resort, so if you are looking to stay somewhere you won't get many kids running around, this is not the resort for you. So if you want to have a resort that's more relaxed, less kids running around, less kids in general, you might want to stay at another resort. In some of my future videos, unless you're watching this in the future when those videos come out already, in the future the videos that I will be making will tell you more resorts that are for adults, or at least not so many kids running around because it's not so big and everything kind of compact. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so you can see my previous video in this series and you can see more of my videos for this series. Thank you.